Have you ever stopped to think about the hidden mysteries behind ancient Egyptian rituals? Today, we will unveil one of the most fascinating aspects of this rich culture, the spiritual rituals of ancient Egyptian mythology for soul energization. Imagine yourself in majestic ancient Egypt, with its imposing pyramids and the enigmatic Sphinx, the desert dust carrying echoes of past civilizations. The beauty and mystery of Egypt have always fascinated many scholars and spiritual seekers, and not without reason. The Egyptians deeply believed in life after death and built a complex web of rituals for soul energization, which ranged from preparation for the afterlife to spiritual purification and protection. In this lecture, our journey begins with the preparation of the soul for the afterlife journey, a process that involved much more than simple mummification. Let's start with the complex mummification process, which was not just a means of preserving the body but a sacred ritual involving various deities and aimed at ensuring that the soul could successfully navigate the world of the dead. Mummification was indeed a meticulous ritual. First, the deceased's body was washed and purified. The internal organs, except for the heart, were removed and placed in canopic jars, each protected by a specific deity. It was believed that these deities, known as the four sons of Horus, protected the vital organs necessary for the afterlife. The next step was the dehydration of the body with natron, a type of salt naturally found in Egypt. This process took about 40 days. After that, the body was embalmed with sacred oils and resins and wrapped in linen bandages, each layer interspersed with amulets and magical texts. It was believed that these incantations protected the deceased soul and guided it through the world of the dead. But the soul's journey did not end with mummification. A series of additional rituals were necessary to ensure that the soul could reach the duat, the realm of the dead. One of the most important of these rituals was the opening of the mouth, performed by the deceased's family or priests. It was believed that this ritual restored the deceased's senses in the afterlife, allowing them to eat, drink, speak, and breathe again. The Book of the Dead, or Book of Coming Forth by Day, was a collection of spells and incantations crucial for the deceased soul. The texts of this book were written on papyrus and placed inside the tomb. Each spell had a specific purpose, such as protecting the soul against the dangers of the duat or aiding in spiritual transformation and rebirth. Among the most important spells was spell 125, known as the negative confession. During this confession, the deceased soul denied having committed 42 different sins before Osiris and the 42 judges of the underworld. This served as proof of moral and spiritual purity, necessary to achieve an afterlife with Osiris. And who was Osiris, you might be wondering? Osiris was one of the most important deities of the ancient Egyptian pantheon. He was the god of the underworld and resurrection, and in Egyptian mythology, he was assassinated by his brother Seth, who dismembered him into several parts. Isis, Osiris's wife, and his sister Nephthys gathered the parts of his body and, with the help of Anubis, performed the first mummification ritual. This story not only explains the first mummification rituals, but also symbolizes the promise of life after death and rebirth, central aspects of Egyptian beliefs. It is worth mentioning the rituals related to rebirth and the continuity of life. One of the most interesting is the ritual of the pharaoh as Horus, which involved rites to ensure that the deceased pharaoh would be transformed into Horus, the falcon god responsible for the protection of Egypt and the continuous renewal of the life cycle. This ritual was a means of ensuring the regeneration of the pharaoh's spirit, and by extension, the kingdom itself. Moving away from mortuary rituals, the Egyptians also had intricate purification rituals that occurred in life. A notable example is the purification ritual performed in temples before ceremonies dedicated to the gods. These rituals involved sacred baths, the burning of incense, and the chanting of mantras dedicated to deities such as Hathor, the goddess of love and beauty, or Thoth, the god of wisdom and writing. It was believed that priests needed to be in a state of spiritual and physical purity to contact the deities. An interesting practice that has survived the ages is the use of amulets and talismans. Each amulet had a specific meaning and was used to protect the wearer against evil forces or to attract good energies. One of the most famous amulets is the Eye of Horus, also known as udyat, symbolizing protection, health, and rejuvenation. Similarly, the scarab was a symbol of rebirth and transformation, often placed over the deceased's heart during mummification to ensure their spiritual renewal. Let's reflect on the relevance of these rituals in the modern world. Can these millennia-old practices still offer any lesson or inspiration for our spiritual development today? Certainly. Purification, spiritual protection, and rebirth are universal themes that resonate deeply in many esoteric and religious traditions worldwide. Our daily lives bombard us with stress, doubt, and negativity. Incorporating purification rituals can be extremely beneficial. Whether through meditations, purifying baths with herbs, or mindfulness practices, the idea of purifying and spiritually protecting oneself is not just a relic of the past, but a contemporary necessity for our mental and spiritual well-being. Egyptian rituals also teach us the importance of preparing the soul for the next stage of existence. This can be translated into our current lives as the quest for self-knowledge, respect for spiritual practices, and the constant pursuit of inner evolution. Egyptian rebirth can be seen as the eternal human quest for transformation and renewal. Let's imagine a modern practice inspired by ancient Egyptian rituals for soul energization. We can create a personal rite of renewal. For this, select a quiet space, free from distractions. Start with a purifying bath with salts and herbs. Then do a guided meditation, visualizing yourself enveloped in protective light. Use amulets or crystals that resonate with your energy. Recite positive affirmations and finish by thanking spiritual forces. Let's remember that the legacy of ancient Egyptian rituals is not just from a distant time. It permeates our spiritual quest today, re-emerging in the purification, protection, and renewal practices we adopt. Each of us can, in our own way, be the pharaoh of our own life, seeking the celestial energy and spiritual connection that elevates us. Therefore, may we be inspired by the millennia of wisdom of the ancient Egyptians, elevating our souls and finding the inner peace we seek. May each of you walk with the protection of Osiris, the wisdom of Thoth, and the renewal of Horus. Thank you very much for accompanying me on this journey through the rich Egyptian mythology. Until our next spiritual discovery.